Hi. Today I want to introduce you to a wonderful book. It's called Violence Unveiled, Humanity at the Crossroads. And it's written by Gil Bailie. And Gil has written a wonderful book here. There are a few books in the world that I would recommend people read multiple times. This is one of them. In it, Gil explores what we've been trying to understand throughout these classes, mimetic theory. And Gil states that humans, from childhood all the way through adulthood, desire according to the desires of another person. And he starts this off with telling us a story about toddlers at play. So there are these two toddlers, and they're in this huge room, and the room is full of toys. And the catch is that they are all the same toy. So toddler 1 goes up and finds one of these toys to play with, and toddler 2 sees that toddler 1 has found this toy and is playing with this toy, and toddler 2 goes over and tries to play with the same toy. And there's almost this, there is this struggle over this toy. And what makes, the more toddler 1 wants to keep the toy, the more toddler 2 wants to have the toy. And the more toddler 2 wants to have the toy, the more toddler 1 wants to keep the toy. And so there's this conflict over the toy. But remember, the whole room is full with the same toy. So what makes this toy valuable? It's that toddler 2 desires according to the desires of toddler 1. And so since somebody else already has this toy, there must be something valuable about the toy, and so toddler 2 comes over and wants to play with the toy. There's no inherent value in this toy. It's just that somebody else has it. Desire according to the desires of another. And when I first read this, I thought, oh, that's an interesting story, and I've heard of these things happening, but I haven't experienced it. A couple years later, I have 2 children of my own. One, let's call him Braden. Braden's 2 years and 4 months, and the other one let's call Gavin, and Gavin is 9 months. So the other day I'm up in Braden's room, and I have Gavin on my knee. Braden comes over and says, "No baby, no baby." Braden wants to sit on my knee. Well, I think I'm being rational, right? And so I say, well, Braden, I have 2 knees. Why don't you sit on this other knee? And Braden says, "No baby, no baby." Braden wants to sit on this knee because he's desiring according to the desires of another. He's desiring to sit on this specific knee because somebody else is already on that knee. And so what's a loving father to do? Well, I take Gavin off of my knee and I put Braden on my knee and everybody's happy. Well, to help us understand how this works throughout our lives, a lot of research has been done into the brain. And in the brain we have these things called mirror neurons. And so when I see something happening out in the world, in my brain there are these mirror neurons that are like synapses, and they go boom, 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 boom. And it's almost like what's happening in the world is being mirrored in my brain. And so when I see somebody reach for an object, I unconsciously want to reach for that object as well because I see it going on unconsciously in my brain, so I reach for it. So let's say that you and I are at a restaurant, right? We're having a great dinner, and I see you reaching for your glass of water. Well, instinctively, I'm going to reach for my glass of water. Whether I'm thirsty or not, I see you reaching for your glass, and so I'm going to reach for my glass. It's almost this unconscious desire to drink according to the desire of another. And thank goodness the waiter has brought 2 glasses of water. Otherwise, we might go to blows over the 1 glass of water, right? Well, how does this work on a national level? Well, people within a nation start to tell stories about what it means to be part of this nation. And the national story transcends any one of us so that we can all participate within this story of what it means to be a part of this nation. So let's say that there are these 2 nations. One nation is the United States, right? And the United States has told itself this story about being a superpower. In fact, being the only superpower left in the world. And so the United States has these nuclear weapons, and it has the greatest, biggest military that's ever existed in the world, right? And there's a certain amount of pride that goes into this story. There's a certain amount of this is who we are, this is our place in the world, and this is what we do. Well, another nation, let's call it Iran, sees this other nation having this pride in this story, and Iran starts to desire according to the desire of another nation. Says, well, we would like to be a part of that story. We would like to be a superpower. We would like to have these nuclear weapons as well. And so the United States says, well, let's be rational about this. You can't have nuclear weapons because you're dangerous. And Iran says, well, let's be rational about this. You have nuclear weapons, so we should be able to have nuclear weapons. So we want nuclear weapons. And all of this rationality is neglecting the fact that each nation is desiring according to the desire of the other. And the more Iran wants to have nuclear weapons, the more United States says you can't have nuclear weapons. And so there's this escalating conflict. So how do you get out of this trap? I don't know. What do you think? I mean, maybe what we need to do is transform the stories within these nations, transform the identity, have this radical transformation of the cultures within these nations. Take the United States. One of the stories that it's told itself is that the United States is a Christian nation. Well, and a lot of people are saying, well, we're now a post-Christian nation, whatever that means. I don't think that the United States has really ever been a Christian nation. I mean, if we had been a Christian nation, there would be more of an attempt not to be the super power in the world, but more of a story about being a super servant in the world, right? I mean, maybe you might think that's naive, but maybe humanity is at a crossroads and needs a radical transformation of the story that we tell ourselves, and desiring to be servants and not lords over one another. Maybe that's what we need. I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know. Bye-bye.